history of banking is the other side of the family. And they're always jealous that Enki had to fund DNA, and so they had to keep covering it up, basically. I mean, there's lots of levels to that description. So at that point, the religion is disempowered for the feminine, the meaning of Magdalene in terms of her ancestors, that induces a huge schizophrenia, which is painful to the shamanic roots of our whole bloodline, which is why it's so important to go back to see these shamanic roots. Now, if we see where this goes, then Tutankhamun goes out to try to save the life of his father in the desert and ends up strung up in a tree, crucified, by a guy named Panhasi. Isn't it Panhasi? Anybody remember? And you can read in the Jewish text, the guy who killed Jesus is actually an Egyptian Amun priest. So this story of the Essene roots then becomes, remember the Benjamin line, you know, Joseph had the cup of many colors, the coat of many colors, which means raiment or braid in his DNA. Many colors in his coat. Joseph's Technicolor coat, you know what that is? How many recursive braids are in his DNA? And then how charged radiant would be his ultraviolet and capacitive field. And the harmonic inclusiveness of his aura electrically. And Benjamin had the gold cup in the seeds. Remember the story of Benjamin? The gold cup was hidden in the seeds. The gold cup is the grail of charge fractality in the roots of his genetic seed, the sperm. And the Benjamin line becomes the story of Magdalene, which we now know is Oxenpotin, and the Benjamin line then becomes the story of Arcadia.
These are the gold eaters.
These are the gold eaters, yes, yes. The Arcadia is the Greek descendants of the Essene Benjamites. And this becomes Et in Arcadia Ego in Holy Blood, Holy Grail. Arcade means those of the branch, like the word Scion and Sion and Zion means those of the branch. Scion means to branch, as in the word science, to branch perfectly, which relates to our word divine. Anyway, the Arcadia became known as the bow, as in the Boheme and the Bugaresh, Bug-Arat, and the Bulgarian. And so this bow line became the story, always this descendants of this lineage. So repeatedly we're tracking this through history. We're tracking the repeated attempts to create a psychokinetic bloodline in a culture where that is essentially illegal. You know, in a George Bush culture, it's almost illegal to get bliss. Everything possible is done to prevent bliss. Vaccination, metal cities, fear, dead food. The entire culture is exquisitely designed to prevent all DNA from imploding.